All right. Well, welcome everybody. Give everybody a few minutes here to settle in. I'm going to do a live broadcast here this evening. I like doing these a lot more, so we're going to keep doing them. Tonight's episode is going to be pretty quick, very heavily financially focused. I think that's where most of the news is today for us to pay attention to. A lot of good opportunities out there, but I want to make sure that I am live streaming here. I'm not seeing the live stream. There we go. We are live. Well, welcome everybody. Hey Travis, how are you? Good to see y'all. We'll go another 60 seconds or here, or maybe a little bit further, just to get ourselves acquainted, settled in. I'm not going to take too much of your time this evening. By the way, I appreciate you being here every time that you are here. Thank you so much. I don't do this for a living. This isn't my job. This isn't the direction I thought my life would go. Nowhere in my life biography that I believe that 5 years ago that I would be running a daily prayer group online, or that I would be doing a news breakdown or financial commentary. The financial thing I've done on TV networks and things like that in the past before, but I never thought I'd be doing this from my spare bedroom in my house and just helping people as much as I can. It's so nice to have you all here. We'll get started here in just a minute. We'll get everything going. I know it takes some folks a little bit of time to hop on here, and that's okay because we're recording. It shows that I am live on Rumble as well, but that has been a little glitchy. Hey, Andrea. It's been a little glitchy lately, so I don't know if Rumble will be live. I know once it goes, it should broadcast live and then pause, and then we can, add the titles and all that kind of stuff and make the video go live later. Not my area of expertise. I'm not an influencer or anything like that. I'm just simply a guy in a hoodie trying to help you out here in my spare bedroom. And hopefully some of y'all are taking some of this information and turning it into action, because today was a good day for that again. And I think that we'll see another good day for that again. So paying attention to everything and understanding all the nuances behind the markets, I think, are really important, especially as markets collapse. So paying attention to every opportunity could be vital to your success, your on-time retirement or late retirement. It's all about making sure you pay attention. That's why I do this, because most people don't have the time in their day or the energy or the know-how or the resources to be able to look into the markets, find out what to do. And I'm just trying to help here. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Rice Report, everybody. I'm Eric Rice. Thank you so much for coming back or being here for the first time. Really appreciate you being here. We got a lot to cover here, mostly financial. This episode is going to focus very much on the markets themselves and crime, which I consider to be part of politics, since we are in an election season and we are dealing with maybe the craziest election in U.S. history. We've had a candidate swap out, another candidate with felony charges and an upcoming sentencing and all kinds of stuff. We're going to cover that a little bit later. But as we go through this episode, it's really important to really focus in on the markets themselves. I think the markets tell the story. I've been saying this for a very long time. And just to kind of reference this for everybody, these shows will get a heck of a lot more interesting after we get through the election. There's just so much to cover during the election. I want to make sure that everyone is an informed voter, that they're an informed potential retiree or just an up-and-coming, young couple trying to save their money. You are under attack in every possible way. We are under attack in the food, the air, the water, the markets, the lies, the media. It's all a big thing. And I definitely will be getting a lot more intricate on some ancient history and some of the philosophical things that most people would consider conspiracy theories after the election. But my goal with this show has always been to keep it middle of the road. I can go real deep into some things, but I don't want to lose people. I think it's important to focus on, the alligator closest to the boat, as my friend Timmy says. It's a saying that I love, that I will never not give him credit for. Timmy D introduced me to that saying, focus on the alligator closest to the boat and you'll always be successful. I think that that's a tremendous place to go. And unfortunately, the alligator closest to the boat is one of about 10,000 alligators in the water right now. And we'll work outward from there as a team, as a show, as a community, whatever we want to call this. But let's start focusing here on the markets, because I think that's really where most of the information from today is going to be a little bit unnerving for people who haven't followed the show. It's going to be a little bit celebratory for people who followed me for a few years. A lot of the stuff I've been talking about is coming to fruition. And I want to say today, I'll just give a quick market update. The Dow was down 1.61, S&P 2.1, and the NASDAQ was down 0.97. Most of that is attributed to the Magnificent Seven, specifically Nvidia. Now, I'm not a stock market guy. The only thing I dive in and out of is the VIX, and that is hopefully all of you, I can't call it financial advice because I don't want to get in trouble, but hopefully all of you listen to what the VIX is, that you found ETFs that could trade the VIX and that you placed some money in it because the VIX was up 38% today in the middle of this market crash. And that's how it works. It's the triple beam. So as the market crashes, more volatility is created. So you have a market crashing on one side and volatility jumping on the other. So if you want to know how to balance that without being a professional options trader, just owning the VIX outright or an ETF is a really good place to start, so you can capitalize on that downside in the market, upside in your own portfolio. But why did these markets crash? I think that's a big story. And two of these stories that are in here are things that we've been talking about in this group with this show, whatever the heck we're doing here. We've been talking about this for a couple of years. So the first and foremost, the PMI, the ISM PMI, so the Producer Manufacturing Index, which is basically an indicator. It's kind of like CPI, but for manufacturing. It's the best way to it doesn't have anything to do with inflation. It has to do with productivity. So the productivity levels in this country showed a significant and concrete leaning, if not a staple, of stagflation today. What we found out this morning, which is why the markets crashed, and before I go into this, I think it's important to note that America by itself really doesn't produce anything anymore. Obama had a lot to do with this. Obama was really proud of the fact that he was eliminating the manufacturing division of this nation, shipping everything overseas, pumping up NAFTA, all these other political choices that have led to American demise to this point in time are all coming full circle right now. You cannot have a fun and games liberal party and just do things that sound liberally good without being financially sound and expect the nation to actually hold on to its seatbelt as it goes through this volatility. So America doesn't produce anything. You can walk down any main street in any small town. Just do it. If you're in a small town, I'm right in a small town, Texas. I can go right into the next town, into a little downtown Main Street area. I've done this twice. You can go to a little boutique and ask the boutique owner, do you make the clothing in here? They'll say no. Well, look at the tags on the back of the shirts and the pants. They're all going to come from Taiwan and China, but it's a little boutique store. Should support them anyway because they're an American reseller. But America has just become exactly that. It has just become a reseller nation. We are the ultimate middleman. We'll finance something overseas, we'll bring it over here and sell it, but we don't actually want to get our hands dirty making it, which makes no sense that we are the most attacked climate change nation in the world. We actually don't have a whole lot of damaging manufacturing centers anymore. They've all been off-put to overseas. So this manufacturing point, you can go down that main street, you'll find a flower shop. Ask them where they get their flowers. About 80% of our flowers sold in American flower shops come from Colombia. It's one of their largest legal exports. Of course, cocaine and drugs are a big export out of Colombia, but Colombia itself is a main exporter of flowers. Most of the flowers you buy in a flower shop for a funeral, wedding, your wife, whatever they may be, those are coming from a foreign nation. They're not grown here. The way that we do food in this country, which is a really important thing with RFK kind of joining Trump's ticket and talking about make America healthy again. That is such an important thing. I think people overlook the amount of microplastics, chemicals, preservatives, things that are in our food. But more importantly, I think people overlook the cost savings that Americans could have if we actually grew, uprooted or harvested, and then canned in our own nation. The way that this works after Obama is that essentially American corn grower, we're one of the largest corn growers in the world. I'm from the Midwest, so corn is just part of your normal diet. But corn by itself, the way it works in America is we grow the corn. About 60% of the corn is consumed by humans, 40% is consumed by cattle and for other things, for feed, pigs, things like that, to grow meat. But what happens with the corn that we eat when it's canned or frozen, to be honest with you, it gets shipped over to China or to another foreign nation so that they can can it and send it back, or they can freeze dry it and send it back. This creates, they say it reduces the cost of labor, but it increases the cost of shipping. What it ultimately does is it removes the bioenergy from our food. We want to eat food that is freshly killed or freshly picked. That is where you get the most bioenergy. My last business was all about understanding bioenergy. And the best way to say this is you can look at a squirrel. A squirrel eats, a stalk of vegetable straight from the ground. It's connected to the earth. It's full of bioenergy. So it's eating that straight there. And if a squirrel was the size of a human being, it would be able to jump over a building like a superhero. Super athletic, very lean. Then you have like a dog who eats the squirrel. It has to kill the squirrel. When something dies, it loses 60 to 70% of its bioenergy. These are really, really well-known quantum mechanics for vibration and frequency. So it loses that bioenergy. So the dog is consuming 30% of the bioenergy from the squirrel, who consumed 100% from the stalk of grass or whatever it ate. And then, of course, if we eat the dog, bad example for the dog, but if we eat the dog, then we'd have to kill the dog and we'd be consuming less and less and less bioenergy. This is why the supplement industry is highly ineffective. Your average supplement in America today travels 1,900 miles before it actually gets to your shelf that you buy it from on the store, or if it arrives at your home when you order it online. The fact that we're shipping food all around the world to be treated by other places is actually kind of killing the entire American system. But it also shows you that we have very few manufacturing capabilities. We do very little actual work in this country. We are kind of the lazy generation, where most of the things that are produced in this country are sold overseas, and most of the things that are consumed in this country are produced overseas. This is really a big problem that's being exposed in the market today by the ISM PMI index number, which showed two really important things. Number one, prices paid for things went up, and at the same time, new orders went down, which means that inventories are now overstocked. There's more products being sold for higher dollar amounts while wages are rising and the cost of shipping is accelerating. This is by definition stagflation. So there's no debate anymore. There's no soft landing. There's no nothing. Hyperinflation would be the next step from here, but we're in stagflation right now. When prices are rising, inventories are full. The good news is that with approaching supply chain issues, which are a very strong possibility, not a probability, but a possibility, that means that we have a lot of inventory sitting on the sidelines, sitting in warehouses. Warehouse space right now is jammed up. So if we look at this from the right perspective, we can train ourselves to understand that the market is in stagflation, meaning that hard assets will be very valuable, like I've been saying for 3 years. I'll reiterate my portfolio and I'll add the one thing to it that's changed. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, oil and gas investments with tax advantages, raw land, and the VIX. Those are the 6 things that I'm buying. You can do as you please. Those are the 6 things that I'm focused on. I really try to be micro-focused, laser-focused when I'm investing, because it means my family's future. It's not a game to me. It's something I try to win as often as possible in. And today was a good win. Today was a good day. But stagflation, this is nothing new. So the media is just now covering the fact that our manufacturing sector of this nation is now in big trouble. We have fewer orders coming in, more inventory being stocked up. The cost of that inventory is extremely expensive. Now you have to warehouse it. You have all these shipping expenses, and the cost of labor is going up because inflation is raging. This is by definition a real big problem. And the media just now covering this. I've been covering the PMI for 2 years, and I hope that all of you have followed along and paid attention, because you can make a tremendous amount of money understanding these things that are happening, even with small trades. But this is now the 5th month in a row that the PMI has dropped. 5 consecutive months it's dropped, and the news is just now talking about it. And that includes all the news. CNBC, which actually for stock market news isn't a bad publication. They're all clowns. All the mainstream media, they're owned by the same 6 people that own everything. 6 companies own all the media. That is absolutely a fact. And they don't want you to know, because we're the sheep that are being harvested for the slaughter. So they don't want you to know that these things are happening, which is why I get so many dings from YouTube for some of the comments I make. But I won't stop at it, because I'm not trying to sell you my opinion. I'm trying to give you facts. And I hope that ultimately you take those facts and you do something really great in your life with it. That's the entire point. 5 consecutive months, and 21 out of 22 months, the PMI has dropped. The lack of manufacturing, the lack of vertical integration in this country is going to destroy us, because we're watching the ramifications play out. This has been dragging on, and it will drag on. There is no quick fix for this problem. There is no magic pill. There is no magic candidate. Only God himself could actually wave his hand and change what's happening in manufacturing in this country. We are looking at a decade-long rebuild period if we actually get the right people in office that can make those changes, so that we have American jobs once again, producing American products. To me, that's very important. So the cost of shipping, combined with this drag on the economy through the manufacturer's index, or the manufacturer sector of this economy, is creating the financial crisis. So we've been waiting for what the financial crisis is. The crisis is this. Our money is worth 30% less than it was in 2020. So every dollar is worth 70 cents. All of our hard assets are consumed and centralized and owned by major banks. So if you can get your hands on them, get your hands on them. They're going to ensure that they win through this process. That is the entire goal. The banks, The central banks, the regional banks will probably get slaughtered, but the central banks and the national banks, their whole goal is that they don't care how much money you have. They never have, they never will. They take all you are is a lender to them. You give them, you deposit money in your checking account thinking it's staying there. They take leverage on it and lend it out to everybody in the world trying to make interest on it. Usury is a big problem, always has been. It's a biblical problem. It is a very big biblical problem that we are living through right now. But if we look at this and you combine the stagflation environment, lack of manufacturing, lack of focus in this nation of actually building great things once again. All this nation knows how to do anymore is burn things down, not build things up. That must change for us to be a successful nation with generational wealth and generational comfort, if nothing else. But at the same time, our government is now paying $3 billion per day in interest cost. So the total cost of interest in Q2 of 2024 was $1.1 trillion. That's with a T. That's not a B or an M. That's a T, trillion dollars. And right now they're printing 9 billion. So they're printing 9 billion a day. A third of that goes directly into interest. 2/3 of that is going into special interest overseas, Ukraine, Israel, everyone in the world except you. They are not doing a darn thing to save Americans. And that's what this episode, I hope, is going to really hammer home, because I'm really tired of hearing the old liberal line of we need people coming in this country so they can pick our fruit. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever. We don't even have fruit trees. We don't even grow them. We import most of our fruit. So who's picking the fruit? But I'll get to that in a moment. So Nvidia, who I've been talking about for about 6 months, I think Nvidia is a big setup. I think it's a huge honeypot for investors in the end. It is absolutely a monopoly on microchips, absolute monopoly. And moreover, I think their accounting practices are gray at best. I think that's being kind so I don't get kicked off YouTube. They're gray at best. They're very heavily accrual accounting. I'm going to have an episode here next month with a gentleman who's a businessman like me, and we're going to talk about the dangers of grayscale accounting, gray world accounting, how dangerous they can be for an uninformed investor. But Nvidia just got served that they are being investigated for violation of antitrust laws. If you've been following this show, even just since I came back on YouTube, you will know that probably every 3 or 4 episodes I talk about antitrust laws being violated, and that the area of concern for me in this country has been the antitrust laws. The very interesting thing about this is it's happening in September during an election season. So Nvidia today dropped 9% during the normal trading hours, another 2% after hours, and essentially dropped about $350 billion in market cap. That's the largest single loss of market cap in U.S. history. So we did it again, another record in America in the stock markets. Now, this isn't an isolated incident, nor is this a surprise. Eventually, in a clear-headed world, we would have this type of situation where an antitrust law would be investigated by our SEC and other governing boards for a company that's violating those antitrust laws. I will remind you that the bubble bursting in 2000 started when Microsoft was investigated for antitrust violations. Nvidia has a much larger market share than Microsoft ever had in 2000, even more than they have today. And I think we're looking at the triggering event that's going to start a very slow and steady decline in the market, but it's going to have tremendous volatility. There will be big up days because it is an election, and the system is manufactured and rigged. There is no way around that. And you know this, I can prove this. Uh-oh, I lost my signal here. Don't know what happened here. Can you all still see me? Anyone comment that you can still see me? I cannot see myself. Hello, hello? Uh-oh. I'm going to have to reboot this here. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to have to reboot. A lot of people can't see me. I don't know what's happening here with the camera. Camera's on. We just lost, says Elgato. I keep getting Elgato on here. I don't know why that is. I'm going to cut this off and pick it right back up so that we don't have this black screen in front of us. So let me shut this down. Just stay right here. Stay on the link.